And welcome to episode 3 of Space Wars. Let's get into it. Today we're gonna be going to another planet. And, there's last episode, towards the end of it, the American rocket went from the moon and is now landing on Mars. As of now. And where is America going to land? Their rocket is going to land right here on Mars. And it's going to, be right here. So, America is going to start their Martian colony by, going throughout these cracks and making the capital of the thing. The rockets will represent capitals in this. Like if we take a look at the moon map, which I've had to update. We also have to update the rockets. And, this is definitely different quality, so yeah. Now, rockets. The rockets are pretty much the capitals of each of these areas. So yeah, welcome to the moon. And with the rockets here, America will be expanding their colony as they will be going ahead and going around these mountainous areas. And they're going to be attempting to go and find the mountain thing. The big mountain on Mars. I forgot its name. And I don't know it. Well, yeah. And they pretty sure it's this mountain here? No, that volcano. Yeah, it's a volcano. Well, let's just say it's this. So the Americans are going to be attempting to go ahead and reach there. But India will actually be landing there first. And they will be landing right next to it. Which they calculated. And, Mars is kind of red-orange, and so is the color representing India. Yeah, that's definitely noticeable. So they are going to be settling right next to the volcano thing. Yeah. And they will be settling these areas. And this makes America mad. It makes them mad. And they really dislike how India just quote unquote stole their area. Even though it's not technically theirs and they didn't claim it, so yeah. Well, they do connect like this. And eventually, they will look like this. And, India and America had decent relations on the moon. They did fight a war together against the Russians and the Chinese, but, they lost that war. And now neither of them are connected with each other. But India and America haven't had so great relations, and America wants to get revenge on India. So India is going to be declared war upon by the Americans on Mars. So the Americans will be sending the troops into Indian colony and will be attempting to capture all these flatlands. And the Americans did plan this, but the Indians didn't expect it, so they quickly get pushed out of flatlands. But India is focused on modernizing, hence why they were able to, if I can get the map, make this colony. Yeah. They were able to make it. So India with the modernized weapons are going to be able to, push back. Till the Americans use their secret weapons that they've been developing against India. And now, let's look at a peace treaty on Mars. And this is the peace treaty. So now India is going to be forced to take the rocket somewhere else. In an area they really like to be in. They like to be in crevassy areas. They're kind of a little sick of all the flatlands. If I can... There. All of these flatlands here. So they're going to land in this crevice area right here. Very far away from the Americans. Wait, on a map perspective. But, this is probably the farthest spot away from the Americans. If you don't understand map projections, so basically these parts and these parts are super close to each other. It loops around, if you don't understand that. But the Indians will be remaking their colony and will be attempting to make it even bigger. And so far it starts more successful, as they have a lot more areas to discover. And well, they just do it very successfully, as they, after a while, will be going ahead and going into their worst enemy, the flatlands of Mars. Yeah. Even though there's a giant mountain here. Yeah. And they will be using their skills to go ahead and attempt and explore all of this area. They will be spreading out a lot, as they will send their armies, the Martian thingies, over to here. And they will be continuing to explore throughout half of the red planet, until eventually, they see America. They find the American colonies, but they still keep going, and until they're kind of forced to stop at this crater. That is a very big colony. But the Americans will also be expanding their colony into this area that's right here. And their colony looks something like this. And then the Americans are going to connect their colony with the Indian colony. Yeah, this looks coast. But then the Russians are going to be landing on the moon. And they will be landing in a pretty good spot. Right here. Kind of like where the Indians landed. And now they are going to be able to expand and make their own Mars colonies. And just like they did last time, they're going to do it to a more extreme level. They're going to be landing rockets all over the planet in order to attempt and colonize as much as possible. And I think that went pretty successfully at the moon. Yeah. So they are going to be sending rockets in a lot of places to a lot of places. One is here, and it'll be expanding. And another one is going to be here, if I can reach that side of the map. And I don't think I can. Yeah. And the Russians will also be making a giant landing over in the flatlands area here. And will be expanding that colony to be very big. And they will be being right on the doorsteps of the American colony. And, they even have some disputes over here. But they do eventually figure out a border which looks something like this. And Russians will also be landing here, which is a pretty big major spot to counter India. And they will also be making a spot here and be connecting these two. And actually they will be cutting off the Americans, which, as it's kind of obvious, the Americans are not very happy about that. Time to go back to the Indian colony, as the Indians, who like to have all their colonies connected, is going to go and squish through here, and will be connecting up with the Russian colony up here. And the Russians don't like this, as they want their colony to be isolated. And, you kind of can't really be too isolated when all major powers are trying to get to the moon. But the Indians will also be expanding their colony greatly throughout this area. Yeah, and eventually it'll look something like this. And eventually the Indians will also be expanding their colony up to about this mountain area. Yeah. And they will be also getting here, which is, pretty hard to go through those mountains. So the Indians are going to be making a path all the way around them. Yeah, the Indians like Mars very much. Yeah. And they will be expanding their colonies and eventually finding this gray blob thingy here, which is very rare, and they were completely surrounded. And this gives them a lot more resources. And that is going to do it for today's episode of Space Wars. I hope you enjoyed today's episode on the Red Planet. See you in the next episode, and bye. Bye.